And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the second last day here of Masters Coliseum 6. The playoffs have been upon us for the past week, and we are nearing the end. Welcome to day number 4 of the Masters Coliseum, and we are down to merely 6 players. You can see them here before you. We have MaxPax, we have Maru, we have Björn, we have Cure, Serral, as well as Clem. We're running out of players, and here we go. We are here in the lower bracket finals. The only non-Terran players left in this tournament are facing off. It's MaxPax for Protoss, it's Serral for Zerg against a sea of Terrans. And which one of these two non-Terrans are going to be able to wave that flag and continue their run here in this tournament? There can be only one. It's brutal. Very brutal. And yeah, it's going to be a banger of a match. PvZ, the best we can get, especially in the European server, or even the European region. MaxPax versus Serral. The vetoes are in. The map order is ready. Near Humanity from MaxPax. Ancient Cistern from Serral. Very interesting vetoes. Oh my god. I feel like Ancient Cistern is a map that is typically used by Zerg, so I'm curious as to why Serral would ban that, but my curiosity has to be put at bay because we are diving into this in the bottom right-hand corner of Gresson. We have from the land of Denmark and Psystorm Gaming. It is MaxPax. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the Finnish Zerg player going for a 15-15 opener. For Team Basilisk, it is Serral. Here we go. We have light casting with light detect. Correct. Of course, I'm not by myself. You know, I'm joined by my other half as well, the Protoss half. I'm the Zerg half. Likewise, we will also fight, and only one of us will win. But yes, welcome, of course, to the Masters Coliseum. It's been a long, grueling week a couple of weeks, actually, of StarCraft. The group stage was 2 weeks ago, and we have whittled away at our player base here until we only have 6 players left. Tomorrow, we will be crowning a champion of the Masters Coliseum. So, wish everyone the best of luck here, as already we're kind of getting into the swing of things. Already, we are getting into our game. So far, nothing too crazy. Serral, of course, went for a 15-15 opener. With this, he does get his natural base up and running on location. Does mean that he's not forced to take the unnatural natural from his opponent. So Serral, he's going to have a little bit more of a comfortable time early on. The downside to this opener here from Serral is that his gases are a little bit delayed compared to how they usually would be. But he's making up for that a little bit here by just, having some faster queens, and of course he has the defender's advantage, or the advantage of having a much more comfortable setup here in the early game. Of course, respecting his opponent quite a bit. This is typically how you want to open up when you can against a player like MaxPax or a player like Hero, players that are just so damn good with their control that they will just pick you apart with their Adept and Oracles in the early game, just based off of how exposed your bases are because of your base layout. So yeah, Serral taking MaxPax very seriously and is willing to even sacrifice a little bit of his economy here in order to preserve his workers in the long run. Oh boy. Here we go. Behind this, MaxPax is indeed going for a Stargate opener. As to be expected, it is the standard, it is the meta here in PvZ. It's what our players want to be going for. Slowlings do waddle into the main base, and they do get a scout of the initial tech, so without really compromising or exposing the Overlord, Serral is able to get a scout off on this Stargate. The reasoning for this is that typically, as a Protoss player in this matchup, you skip and delay your second gateway in favor of faster tech. Oh my god, as MaxPax is pulling a Hearthstone here, he still delays his second gateway even further, And if you can see on the minimap, he threw down his third base already. We don't even have an Oracle, and the third was already thrown down. It is very exposed. A very greedy move here by MaxPax. Hearthstone was doing this every PvZ. It was during DreamHack earlier this year, during DreamHack Yongshaping. Both Asher and I, we did recognize it. And we saw Hearthstone actually get away with it quite often, especially against the Korean Zerg players, not so much against the European Zergs like Raynor and Lambo, who were also going up against Hearthstone at the time, in his group, I should say. So here we go. The Oracle now finally does come out for MaxPax. There's that second gateway, so he finally walls off at home. So very greedy play here from MaxPax, and he is going to be looking to get away with it. Meanwhile, the first Oracle does get across the map, looking for some drone damage as well, but the Queens are in position in the main base. They're going to be able to fend off the Oracle, getting a lot of damage done on it already. No hull damage, but it is quite softened up here, as Serral is getting ready for his own counterattack, getting ready to try and do some damage across the map, but already one drone goes down. Quick moves there by MaxPax. Likewise, quick moves from Serral, able to preserve his second drone. But now we have the second Oracle in the field. We have a third Oracle on the way. As the second Oracle moves out, so that does mean that the third base is going to be a little bit more exposed. We'll see if Serral does go for it. For now, his Lings are just being active on the map, just, looking around, scouting, trying to get an eye on any of the Oracle positioning. As from here, MaxPax is transitioning. We have a Forge and a Twilight Council on the way for +1 and Blink. Interesting, a much later Twilight Council, actually. So because of that, we do see that Blink, or whether it's Blink or Charge, it's going to be delayed here. Not going to quite be lined up with +1. +1 started far earlier for our Protoss player. Meanwhile, the Oracles do go for a bit of a run-by, a bit of a flyby in the main, getting another 2 workers. What's important here is that MaxPax, he's getting like 1 or 2 drones every time, and he's keeping his Oracles alive. So he's just slowly gaining value, getting more damage over the course of this game, and so far hasn't lost anything. So really efficient trades by MaxPax. We'll see if he can keep this up. We'll see if he can keep this going even. Meanwhile, a bold move by MaxPax. I love this, actually. Okay, so behind this, so MaxPax, he's almost acting like he's working on Blink. He does have 4 Stalkers on the field. He's going to be supporting this with these Oracles. Lings cannot touch this army, and Creep is being denied. Little does Serral know that behind this, we're going for Charge and Archons. MaxPax, he's transitioning into Charge or Archon into a big timing, and so far Serral is unawares. So MaxPax doing a great job at cleaning up some of that creep, just really spending energy in the center of the map, and is of course respecting his opponent, is backing off. The downside to what MaxPax just did is that he does have to be very careful because he doesn't have Blink on the way, so his army is exposed if Lings come out, so he's got to respect the army of Serral. Does back off. Storm now on the way. Oof, as 3 more drones go down. I want to say, 8 workers, 9 workers in total throughout the course of this game, so some really nice damage already here for MaxPax. Serral, he's got such a massive wave of Lings coming out, but MaxPax, he's taking a more defensive approach here. We have a Robo on the way. We have Storm on the way, a Gateway Explosion, 4th base as well. So MaxPax, he actually isn't looking to hit a timing with his upgrades. +1 is done, of course, and Charge is about to finish up. But MaxPax on Gressfan here is being very defensive. He's turtling on up. He has a lot of gateways, yes, but as we can see, he's been skipping his warp ins as one Oracle is finally going to go down. MaxPax overextending a little bit there with his Oracles, with his movement, is going to be punished for it. But again, he's done more than enough damage to be able to provide him the loss of 1 of his Oracles. As behind this, we have a second Forge on the way for +1 armor as well. We have the Prism, so it looks like MaxPax is about to be active on the map. I don't think he's going to really commit, though, to a big push. Meanwhile, massive Link run by here is looking to catch some of the High Templar. 1, 2 High Templar go down. Very high value pickup here for Serral. He may not get the High Templar towards the 3rd base, but catching 2 is already well worth it. Basically, a free Archon goes down. Storm was not yet ready. Behind this, Serral has accurately identified, upon seeing that 4th base, that MaxPax is being very economic and very greedy. As soon as he saw that 4th, bam. Lurker Den and Infestation Pit. We have a Hive on the way as well. So Serral, he is seeing the greed of his opponent, and he's trying to keep up tech-wise, just going straight into Hydra Lurker Viper, straight into Hive Tech. Serral knows that he can't really kill MaxPax anytime soon, just because of how defensive, or defensive, how defensive-oriented his opponent is being, so instead he's just taking up even further, looking to meet MaxPax in the mid to late game. So Hydras are on the way, Lurker upgrades are on the way, Side 6 Spines, Adaptive Talons. Basically, both players are like rushing into a 4-base economy, rushing into an ideal army composition. But Serral is kind of beating MaxPax to the punch. Lurkers are already on the way, so by the time a ground army comes out, MaxPax can't really do much about it. Here we go. We see MaxPax moving out onto creep. We already have, I want to say, 4 Lurkers ready for this, so it's going to be quite close. Here we go. A massive warp themselves into the main base. We do have Roaches in position at the same time. The main army of MaxPax pushing forward, but Lurkers are here. Storm's going to be zoning this away. Big storm in the mineral line as well. A lot of workers are going to be going down. No reaction from Serral. Does lose 12 drones. 12 drones go down, but Serral does defend his main base. He does clean up that Zealot run by, and Serral survives. Not without taking some damage, though. That was a lot of economic damage dealt, and MaxPax, upon seeing those Lurkers, immediately Sky Toss. Fleet Beacon, 2 more Stargates. I was about to get into the fact that because Serral beat MaxPax to Lurkers, it means that Serral won't die anytime soon, and MaxPax, he needed to realize that very quickly, otherwise he wouldn't be able to transition into Sky Toss. And I would say that this Sky Toss transition is late. This Fleet Beacon, these Stargates, they could have been thrown down sooner if MaxPax had realized what was going on. Now Serral has the momentum, he has the advantage here until we can get into carriers. High Templar! One High Templar does go down for free. Serral going to be repositioning, pushing on forward through the center of the map. And a Spire is thrown down, so Serral is fully aware that Sky Toss is on the horizon, so he's getting ready for it with his Spire play. Start working on upgrades, start working on Corruptors. Before that occurs, Serral, he's slowly pushing through the center of the map. MaxPax is slowing him down. But again, he can only hold this for so long. As it looks like the Prism did go down to the main base. And Serral is pushing on through. Lurkers able to get in range of some of these High Templar. Another 2 High Templar go down. Very high value pickups, and now the Lurkers are within range of the mineral line. Boys have to be pulled. Get the power of a Lurker range. Behind this, Tempests are on the way. Mothership as well. Serral does want to slowly free up some of his supply to get into his own Corruptors. We do see the Lurkers looking a little bit exposed, but they will back off. And Serral, he doesn't want to overextend. There's that second Spire on the way. We have Pathaging Lands for the Infestors. It looks like Serral, again, he doesn't want to throw away his Lurker, so he will back off. He will respect the position of MaxPax. As the -400 is on the way. -400, -400. You love to see it. While we can, we need to appreciate it. It's gonna leave us soon, Bobby. One more month or so, and it's gonna be gone. Smooch. As there we go, we have 11 Corruptors. The Tempests just revealed themselves to the creep, so Serral is fully aware of what is going on. We have the Nidus on the way, just to help harass. Again, Serral, he needs to get rid of these Roaches, these Lings. He needs to buy time. He's looking for a cancel on this base, and he will not get it. Oh my god, so close. But the base will survive. Again, Lurkers harassing wherever they can. And even Nidus as well to try to ferry or to evacuate those Lurkers when need be. And we are going to late game. We are cutting the map in half. You know, we see MaxPax working on his 6th base now. Likewise, so is Serral. That Roach counterattack, it looks like it will take down that Nexus just barely. Nexus will go down. A good use of Roaches. Again, Roaches, they've been scaled out at this point. They don't really serve too many purposes at this stage of the game. They're just dead supply. So we need to get rid of them as quickly as we can. Corruptors are out. Infestors, I don't think we have any Broodlords yet. We still have to rely on Lurkers for that anti-ground army. Yes, Serral in position. He's got his wall of Spore Crawlers. He's got plenty of Corruptors. And Infestors as well for those Fungals. I mean, Serral is taking some hits, don't get me wrong. Big revelation on the Lurkers as well. So these Tempests are going to go uncontested. Something that we don't have that we would need against like Vipers. Oh, but we do land a big fungal. Big fungal on the Tempest. It looks like one Tempest is going to go down. We're going for a second. Oof. Did take a lot of storms to the face though. So he's got to be careful. Got to back off. Got to regroup. But generate the health there onto those Corruptors. But again, without Vipers, we do have to rely on head-to-head engagements to pick off these Tempests. Can be a little bit more difficult to pull that off. But the Fungal was pretty good earlier, and we could be looking to do that again. Meanwhile, the Ling's trying to harass across the map. MaxPax still being very active in the center. Didn't really back off. Only did for a moment. As he's just continuing to build up his Tempest count. We have the Tempest upgrade on the way, which does help deal extra damage to these structures, to these buildings. To the spores. Here we go. Once again, we are looking to land that fungal. Broodlords are now on the way. You can see Serral also slowly refining his army. He's working on +1 air attack. Tempests are raining down upon this center base, though. Serral losing quite a lot of his workers, but he's up to 90 workers, so it's okay. He can afford to lose some. The workers are moving towards the north, which means they won't be in the center to defend against these Archons. You see MaxPax getting a little bit adventurous. As he rotates around, 3 more Stargates on the way. Again, MaxPax does want to eventually turn this army into almost a pure Skytos army. Can't quite gain too much ground here. So far, still doing a great job at keeping up with the rotations. Big snipe though, getting one of those Broodlords. And MaxPax has been just so efficient with his army. He's been picking apart Serral here, picking off Broodlords, Corruptors, drones, lurkers. These Tempests have been so valuable here for MaxPax. Serral knows this, so he's going for a big lurker run by. Meanwhile, we do push up the ramp. The lurkers are not here. They were not in position. And MaxPax is looking to take down a base. Big fungal. Serral, he wants to try to collapse on this, but he has to respect the storm. Storm zoning away the army. We do recall the hell out of there. Mothership is saved. And Serral holds onto his base. Oh, High Templar! Up! Okay. They will survive. They will make it out of there. And you can see, like, the trades, the efficiency of MaxPax is reflected in the bank as well. MaxPax, he has more minerals, more gas in the bank just because he's been spending less of it because he's been maxed out for longer. Meanwhile, Serral has been having a harder time really refining his army and keeping up with his opponents, still relying on Broodlord Infestor. Slowly over time, as Serral has been losing some of these lurkers, he's replacing them with more Broodlords. Working on his upgrades as well, and yeah, Serral, as he tries to make use of these lurkers, he's met by even more Tempest back at home. Can't really find a way in, not yet. This is almost becoming a pure Tempest army, which is less than ideal. We don't have too many High Templar. Again, the storms are so crucial when it comes to zoning away the Corruptors. If we ever run out of storms, then Serral, he can just dive on the army. Here we go, Serral just getting ready for that moment. Okay, and I think only 2 or 3 High Templar are with that force, so gotta be careful. Do have an eyes into the main. Oh, and it looks like it will finish. Uh-oh. This is pretty big. Once it finishes, Serral, he can get on top of the production. Do have a warp in, but MaxPax, he's maxed out. He can't actually warp in too many units at all. That's okay. Natus will go down. We can see instead Serral going for a big link counterattack towards the north instead. Gonna try and focus on the pylon, but the overcharge will keep the pylon alive. Yeah, these cracklings, they pale in comparison to the overcharge. MaxPax will fend that off. And I do worry. I do feel like Serral, he needs another base soon. He hasn't really been able to gain too much ground towards the north or the south. He does have that center base towards the south, which is helping him, to be fair. But he's been having a hard time collapsing on his opponent. Nidus is going to finish up in between the fresh mining bases of MaxPax. And now it is MaxPax's turn to be out of position. The Lurkers, they take down a massive volley of those drones, of those probes. Oh, 13 probes go down. Oh, no detection. That Templar. Up. Oh, can we get one? Oh, we can. Can we get two? Oh my god. 13 workers and 1 High Templar for 2 Lurkers. Well worth it here for Serral. Now the army is fragmented. He can try to collapse on this, denying the southern base. Serral is gaining ground. Again, the Nidus play paying off in the end. Able to pull apart his opponents, forcing MaxPax to keep a large portion of his army towards the north instead. Means he has that much less. His main army here protecting his bases. Mainly Archons. 1 High Templar. I'm really concerned here about the lack of High Templar that MaxPax has with his armies. But we'll see. See if he can pull this off. As he's gaining access to that base. He's actually double expanding. I do think that Serral can kind of pick and choose and focus on one of these armies, one of these bases, and maybe pick it apart. Another Nidus into the main. MaxPax maxed out, so he can't warp in back at home. He just recalled earlier. So Lurkers are getting on top of the production. Ooh, Queens are coming out as well. This is getting a little bit out of hand, but the Tempests are coming back. Serral is going to have to back off here. Inspect the position. A lot of Tempests did return. And Serral is mixing in some Ultras, which I do appreciate. Ultras, they give you a little bit more dive potential when it comes to getting on top of High Templar and getting on top of the ground army. Ultras, of course, more mobile than Broodlords. Speaking of the Ultras, they're going for a bit of a counter-attack here. There is no Artosis Pylon. And the Pylon does go down, depowering everything this northern base. Having a hard time getting up. MaxPax does get there in time. Looking at the unit side, we can see 16 Corruptors. We have a good fungal on these Tempests. Only 11 Tempests on the field. And yeah, not enough Storms. We can dive on these Tempests. 1, 2, 3 of them go down. Serral just collapsing on the southern army, and there just isn't enough to support. There was only 1 High Templar here. It just was not enough. And this is what I was worried about. The majority of the High Templar were actually towards the north instead. So we didn't have enough Storms to zone away the Corruptors. Serral, he's going to take down this southern base. And MaxPax can't really do much about the north. Tries to go for his own counterattack, and yeah, these Broodlords are taking down this Nexus. You can see Serral getting ready to just get on top of any Tempests that try to intercept. He's shocking around with the Corruptors, going all the way into the main. Oh my god, is he going to try to go for some of the production? He will. We're going into Void Rays. Oh my god. Okay. I do appreciate this. I mean, there are a lot of Corruptors, so we need more to support these Tempests, clearly. Void Rays will help. Feels production tab, man. Ay. So MaxPax, he may have lost the base, but he's still able to hold on to the center top base. At least. So he has continued mining. Oh. Prism goes down, and you can see over the past couple of minutes, it's been Serral who's been trading more efficiently. It's been Serral who's been building up his own gas and mineral bank. Initially, it was MaxPax, but now Serral has been able to successfully pull apart his opponents with his Niduses, his Lurker Rumbys, his Ultras as well. And I do think that MaxPax was having a hard time efficiently splitting up his army, or effectively splitting up his army. Another big fungal. Does lock down the army. The chain fungal coming in, but MaxPax is consolidating his forces. He is forced back though. High Templar exposed. 1, 2 High Templar go down. Solid reduction there on one of those Tempests. Carrier is exposed. And Serral is picking apart the army of MaxPax. Again, no High Templar, no Storms. Archons were overextending. The Tempest as well overextending. And MaxPax, he just lost 50 supply. In one fight, 50 supply down the drain. MaxPax, he can remax, of course. He can rebuild. It just takes time. That's the downside here of a Protoss army. The Protoss army is more efficient, more effective, obviously, but that's because it takes so much longer here to rebuild. If you do lose a big fight, the Zerg player gets so much momentum going their way. And we do see Ultras going for a big counterattack towards the south. Base is being denied. I do think that Serral could have been a little bit more assertive. I do think that when MaxPax was forced back, I do think Serral could have taken out the northern base. I do think that could have happened, but 12 o'clock even. Now he's working. Now he's rotating in this direction. I do think he could have done this a little bit sooner. Regardless, he's getting damage done. Ooh, the Void Rays are coming in. Void Rays do come in. 1, 2 Broodlords go down. Do we have a fungal? Do we have a Parabomb? Okay, now this is becoming a little bit more complicated. With additional Void Rays, MaxPax's army is a little bit more effective. Especially in a head-to-head fight. But only if he's able to avoid those parasitic bombs. If he's able to split up his army. Speaking of, MaxPax does split it up. Shocking round. I do like this more. I do like that basically one of his army consists of pure Void Ray. Just because Void Rays with Flux Veins, they're very mobile. They're very mobile, they're very flexible, very maneuverable. So if they do need to come back to support the main army, it won't take them as long. They can come in to help. A big yoink. Better feedback. There we go, as the Void Rays will be able to defend against those Ultras. They go for a counterattack as well. They can take down a base and they can zoom the hell out of there. You can see Serral coming back home with his Corruptors. Spores are intercepted. MaxPax, he's finding his footing. He's getting back into this. And again, with a Tempest-based army like this, I don't know if Serral can ever expand again. I don't know if he can ever take any of these bases. MaxPax doing a great job at just constantly being in position, being here to deny him. Oh, Stalkers are going to go down. See if Serral can take any of these bases. As MaxPax is actually bringing everything together. Oh, Serral is looking to hunt down any stray units. Doesn't get anything. Has to be very careful. Has to respect those High Templars. They move forward. They're looking for feedbacks or storms. Lurkers are going to force a reaction here from MaxPax. They're going to force the Void Rays back. As the Void Rays come in, we're looking for a Power Bomb. Here we go. Serral, he does push on forward. Goes for Abduction instead. Okay, gets 3 Void Rays. Not too bad. Good pick up here from Serral. A good trap was laid. But now here comes MaxPax through the center. Forcing back the spores. Oh. It's basically like 4 armies dancing with each other. Like, while MaxPax has a force of Void Rays, we have Serral with all his Corruptors. The Broodlord's trying to catch the Archons as well. God, that's a lot of Void Rays. MaxPax, he knows, Pop. He knows about the mass Void Ray. Ooh, Void Rays are out of position, though. It looks like he was expecting... Well, the army out of position. It looks like he was expecting Serral to maybe even dive into the main. He is forced to recall. High Templar goes down for free. Serral looking for another way, and you can see that MaxPax, he's running out of gas. Again, over time here, Serral has been more efficient. He has been picking apart his opponent. Oh. Carrier goes down, a Tempest as well. Like, a couple too many times, Serral has been, like, catching MaxPax out of position, and even here, another High Templar. We can't afford these losses. Like 1, 2 High Templar every now and then. It adds up. Tempest, the carriers as well. Like, MaxPax's army is strongest when it's together, but Serral has done a great job this game so far at just forcing him to stay split, to fragment his own army. Like, again, these Void Rays, for example, they're ideal in a head-to-head fight, but Serral, he isn't giving him a fight. He hasn't gone for a straight-up engagement yet for quite some time. He's just continuing to poke in and out wherever he can. Chip away at MaxPax. And MaxPax is now running out of money. It's turning into one of those things where, sure, like Serral, he's not taking these bases, but neither is MaxPax, and MaxPax clearly needs them more. He desperately needs another base. MaxPax is running out of money. He's burning through his bank, his gas bank, I should emphasize. He's got plenty of minerals. Here we go, the Ling Ultra going for another big run by. Gonna wreak a little bit of havoc. This is not really an important base for MaxPax. But the Corruptors, they go in, they do catch a Tempest for free. Very nice pickup. It's one of those things where I kind of wish MaxPax was a little bit more proactive with his Void Rays. In moments like that where... Oh. We do go for the triple combo. The fungal into the neural, into the microbial shroud. Ooh, and all these Tempests are caught out. The Void Rays are not here. 3, 4 Tempests go down. High Templar weren't able to force back the army either. But I was going to say that whenever there's a moment like that where the Corruptors like expose themselves and they move out of position, it would be really cool to see MaxPax go for his own backstabs with his own Void Rays as well. But alas, we just haven't really been able to see that too often. It feels like MaxPax has been very scared of his opponent. He is getting a base up and running, but Serral is soon about to focus his attention on that. Broodlords have arrived. They want those probes. MaxPax, though, not too far behind. See, as Serral threatens that base, he's also threatening a big Ling Ultra counterattack, so MaxPax, he has to leave some army back at home. Yeah, and you can see Serral just taking control of that mineral line, not allowing his opponent to mine from it. A nice snipe on a Viper, but 11 probes go down, and the Nexus is under threat as well. Good abduction on those Tempests, but the Void Rays are pushing on in. We don't have any Vipers left, but we do have some Fungals. Big Fungals on the Void Rays. And that's enough to just deter MaxPax. At the same time, the Ultras are getting out of control. They're busting into the natural, soon into the main if they're left unchecked. Ultras are going to back off. Serral doesn't want to waste them. And MaxPax barely has an economy. I think he has one mining base right now. Down to 2k gas. Pushing through the top. Lee's gonna force a bunch of storms. I think there's 2 storms left with this army. And we're waiting for the moment here for Serral to pull the trigger. He's just regathering energy on his Infestors, regathering energy on his Vipers after those fights earlier. Serral is just licking his wounds, getting ready for another attack. And the Ling Ultra has arrived. No overcharge, so the Ling and Ultra can just overwhelm the stack defense. While the main army's pushing on forward, big neurals here on these Archons. Forcing back MaxPax. And yeah, MaxPax, he just can't really gain any ground here. He hasn't been able to. He's now running out of money. He's running out of his bank. He's down to 500 gas. 2 gas geysers mining. It's been a slow death for MaxPax over the last, I won't say 15 minutes, but it has been here. A big fungal, oh my god, covering every single Tempest. Storms will force back Serral. But yeah, I would say that when it comes to the early to mid game, it did feel like MaxPax was doing better overall. He was trading better with his initial Tempests. But once the Infestor count got high enough, once the Corruptors came out and the Broodlords came out as well, Serral was able to gain his footing and recover. And then the turns tabled here on MaxPax. Yeah, we can see here in a moment of desperation, MaxPax pushing through the center of the map. He runs into the Broodlords. Infestors taking control of the majority of these carriers as well. Serral is going to be losing a lot of his army. The Void Rays are going to be able to break on through. But GG gets called. It's not going to be enough. And Serral takes game number 1. Whew. GG. Oh my god. It was a long one, but that's what we expect on Gressvan. Gressvan is the map that is known for the longest games, of course. It's very easy to establish yourself on 4, 5, 6 bases and cut the map in half. We did rush into the late game where Serral was able to look so much more comfortable as well. I loved how he was able to split up his army when it came to his Broodlords, his Infestors, his Corruptors. He was just picking apart MaxPax. And MaxPax, again, initially it did feel like he had a really hard time, splitting up his army effectively enough, efficiently enough, to be able to keep up with Serral. Did have a hard time, and GG. Serral does take game 1, but it's a best of 5. Plenty of games are ahead of us. Specifically, Gressvan is known for its longer play. Gressvan is known for late game macro. Some of these other maps, less so. Some of these other maps are less so. So yeah, I'm sure we're going to be seeing some different styles out of our players. Some very different styles, very different compositions, very different games. So I don't expect to see this again, especially because of the bans. I don't know if you noticed. Neo Humanity and Ancient System were both vetoed. Those are the 2 other large maps that can lead to late games like that. I say the other 2. Altitude is left. Never mind. It could also happen on Altitude at the end of the series. If we get to game 5, we could see something similar. Oh, love. Meanwhile, it looks like there was a bit of a hiccup when it came to the clean feed, but once we get in game, we can sync up and should be good. Should be okay. We'll keep an eye on things. We'll keep an eye on things. Until then, players are just going to be getting ready here. I'm surprised they didn't ask for a break. Maybe MaxPax did. It's possible, but Serral is ready to go. A little bit tired. Just woke up. Had a long night. Maybe dreading this matchup. But we are getting into this, and in the bottom right-hand corner, we have the Danish Protoss player for Coliseum Gaming. It is MaxPax. Oh, beautiful. And his opponent in the top left-hand corner, the Finnish Zerg player for Team Basilisk, it is Serral. Here we go. Serral really showcasing his late game in that previous game on Gressvan. Just showing almost a flawless performance, or a masterclass, grand masterclass even, of late game prowess there. Controlling his army beautifully, splitting up his forces. It wasn't just about his army movement and army positioning, but his ability to harass. That was a big part, actually. We probably shouldn't skip over that too much, but going for the constant Niduses with lurker play and Ling ultra run-bys. Again, it isn't just about like dealing damage or his ability to deal damage across the map, but just forcing MaxPax to be uncomfortable, forcing him to keep units away from where they're needed most as well. Just the threat of these run-bys, the threat of these counterattacks, forcing MaxPax to split up his own army, it all just led into Serral eventually finding these opportune moments where he could pick apart and pick off some high-tech units, you know, 1, 2, 3 High Templar here or there, a Tempest here or there. Like, slowly, methodically, Serral, he was able to pick apart his opponent. Really cool stuff. Really impressive. Really impressive by Serral. And now we're getting into our next game. We're getting into game number 2. And on a map like Babylon, I'm sure we're going to be seeing something very different. Again, we kind of rushed into the late game. We rushed into Skytoss just because of the map itself. Winding it back to game 1, it was MaxPax being very defensive, very turtly on 4 bases, and once Serral saw that, he rushed into lurkers, and once MaxPax saw the lurkers, he rushed into Skytoss, and that kind of led into the late game, as we saw. But again, that's kind of unique to Gressvan. Here we do have a Stargate opener from MaxPax, but this could be for anything, of course. We could get into Oracle production, into Blink Stalkers, we could go into Fast Glaive Adepts. I'm curious as to how MaxPax will approach this, especially down a series or down a game in the series. Serral is just going for a hatch gas pool. He's got his 3rd base on the way. Was forced to take the unnatural natural, so you can see MaxPax just maintain control of this area in between the bases. He can pick off any stray drones that do manage to come across him. Going to be threatening a dive into the mineral line as well, but good queen positioning, and ooh, 1 adept goes down. MaxPax overextending. A bit of a misstep here in the early game to lose an adept like that. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but it means that we have to warp in another adept. It means that MaxPax has to be that much more careful when he does expand and take a 3rd base. Speaking of, the Lings have arrived, and they will be forcing this Oracle to stay back. Does force the activation of that pulsar beam. Behind this, MaxPax getting into his 2nd Oracle as well. If you remember, MaxPax in the early game of Gressvan, I know it was half an hour ago, more than half an hour ago at this point, but he was doing a great job at just, you know, getting early game damage. I think he got around 9 drones in total without losing an Oracle. Eventually, he did lose 1. But yeah, he was doing a great job early on. did have a great start to that game. So far, the Oracle's once again sharking around looking for damage. Just like the previous game as well, I'm really curious if this is something that MaxPax is very accustomed to. Once again, Fast Forge. Fast Forge for +1. This is very reminiscent of how Showtime plays. So because MaxPax is going to be delaying his Twilight Council, which means he's delaying Blink and he's delaying Charge, this does show us that he wants to be a little bit more defensive here. It led into that in Game 1, of course. But MaxPax so far is playing just like he did in Game 1. He's going to be moving out. He's being active here with these Stalkers. Of course, has the Oracles to support his army. And behind this, he went for Charge, if you remember. If you do recall. The army has arrived. Going to try and force a cancel on this 4th base. Stage Trap is here to support the Stalkers as well, to deny us around. A nice bait from Serral. Well, the Oracle can still fend off those Lings, and MaxPax can get the hell out of there. Meanwhile, just like Game 1, it is going to be a very fast Forge, +1 into Charge. And there's the rest of our tech. Templar Archives, Robo as well. And this all did lead into MaxPax getting his 4th base and being very defensive. And there it is. There's the 4th on the way for MaxPax. So far, the exact same playstyle, the exact same build. 2 games in a row. Now, we'll see how Serral approaches this. In the previous game, once he recognized that his opponent was being very defensive and very tech-heavy, that's when Serral decided to throw down his Infestation Pit and his Hydra Den, his Lurker Den, and he rushed into Lurkers, of course. I wonder if Serral is going to do something similar here. This map is maybe a little bit more... Some of these bases are a little bit more exposed, so you can get away with being more aggressive early on. But there it is. There's the Infestation Pit. That is our sign that Serral is aware about how defensive his opponent is being, and Serral is getting ready for Hive Tech. So he's taking on up even further. He's like, yo, you want to be defensive? Okay, I'll just tech up as well, and I'll kind of meet you in a later game. Now, Serral, he isn't neglecting his army, of course. He is still going to be relying on Lingbane Roach Ravager early on. Prism is on the way, so MaxPax does want to harass soon with some Zealots. We'll see if Serral can be ready for it. Storm is on the horizon. Phoenix is on the way. Okay. Got my attention. We do have a straight Phoenix coming out here for MaxPax. Likewise, Serral, the Hive is already in production. Big difference here is that Serral is not throwing down a Hydra Den. So he may be taking up into Hive, which will grant him access to Vipers, but Serral is staying on a Lingbane Roach Ravager base composition instead. Which means Serral is going to be the first to max out, and Serral is going to be the first to be active. As I say that, Zealot Run-By is on the way for MaxPax. Big scout from Serral comes into the main, confirming all the upgrades are on the way. The Blink is on the horizon. Serral just looking to maintain control of his side of the map. Drop coming into the main. Queens are in position. Oh, missed rally from MaxPax. He takes extra hits, and it looks like he will barely survive. Prism gets the hell out of there. But that was a lot of damage dealt. I'm loving those Spine Crawlers from Serral. Really good positioning, reducing surface area. Storm is done. And MaxPax, he's just refining his army, getting ready. Serral is maxed. I mentioned this earlier, but because Serral is staying on a Lair Tech composition, he is the first player to max out. He is ready for a fight. Hive at this point is done. Serral can take up into Adrenal Glands, and there we go. Adrenal is on the way. Spire as well. That's going to be for Broodlords. So Serral, he's skipping Lurkers entirely, going straight for the Broodlords. We'd love to see it. And we see him trying to pull apart MaxPax, trying to make him expose his own Archons, his own army. As this is happening, though, we do see a Zealot Run-By, but no, Serral is in position. He has Bailings ready to go. Raring to go, even. Stasis traps are going to be going off, and again, Serral, he just wants to trade, wants to engage, pushing forward here with his roaches, getting on top of some of these Archons. Overcharge is putting in a lot of work, but it is going to go down. And MaxPax, he wants to try to break this position. The Banelings, they do get wasted there. Good storms from MaxPax. He does hold. Behind this, though, 3-3 on the way. Spire is about to finish. I'm sure we're going to be seeing a greater Spire soon after. Baneling run by trickling into that mineral line, but it looks like MaxPax, he does react, does respond. He is holding. But again, MaxPax is taking the role of the defender, just trying to hold on to these 4 bases. And Serral is just keeping him busy. There's that greater Spire on the horizon for those Broodlords that we were talking about earlier. Like Serral, he's working on that. And because of all this pressure that he's applying, he's just not allowing MaxPax to transition into Skytoss. It just can't happen. It will not happen. Banelings are rolling on in. They get on top of Summer High Templar, and this mineral line is going to go down. There is no saving these probes. And they crash on in. Oof, 21 probes go down. And MaxPax just cannot keep up. He is taking a base towards the north, but does give up a base towards the south to make that happen. And Serral, he can just rotate around. He does have eyes on it. He's making his way towards that fresh mining base. A very exposed base. He isn't able to break it yet, but we have more Ravagers, more Banelings on the way. Serral getting ready to push in. Greater Spire is now done. +1 air attacker is on the way. So again, Serral, he's working on those Broodlords upgrades. Getting ready for that transition. Banelings rolling on in. Zoning away the army, away from this Nexus. Banelings even coming in from behind. And they're just keeping these Stalkers busy while the Nexus burns. While it just burns down. And Serral, he can just back up, remax, rebuild. He isn't making Corruptors yet. Oh my god, as Banelings rolled into that third base, 21 probes went down again. And yeah, from here, Serral, at any moment, he can decide to take up into those Broodlords. He's not ready for it quite yet. I think he still wants maybe 2-2 for his upgrades. Oh no, no reaction. More probes are going to go down, but there's barely anything left. MaxPax, he barely has an economy. He's being forced all in at this point. But what's he really all inning with? Like, he doesn't have any High Templar with his main army, right? He has no Storm. Stasis Trap helps. But there's nothing really threatening Serral. The run by towards the south got cleaned up, and yeah, Serral, he has already remaxed at this point. Oh, no cannons, no shield batteries are in position. And Serral has just been able to completely pull MaxPax apart, which is impressive. MaxPax, he intentionally was already taking the role of the defender. He was holding on 4 bases. He was expecting to meet the army of Serral, but Serral was able to overpower him, eventually break the third, and that was the beginning here of the snowball effect. Where he has just been pulling MaxPax apart. Time and time again. And this is going to be the last army of MaxPax. He's just lost another Nexus. And GG gets called. Serral, looking far more dominant here in Game 2. Takes a 2-0 lead. 1 game away from eliminating MaxPax from the tournament. Oh my god. GG, well played. A very powerful showing here from Serral. Once again, correctly identifying what MaxPax was up to, the fact that MaxPax was going to be more defensive and more tech heavy. Immediately, Serral starts working towards his infestation bit, towards his hive, adrenal glands, all of his upgrades, droning up to 80 very quickly, and just suffocating MaxPax. Not just suffocating him, but actually breaking him as well, which is really impressive. We saw that basically the moment when Serral committed to killing the third base of MaxPax, there was a moment where MaxPax was vulnerable because he actually didn't have any storms. He had a couple of high Templar, but they were being zoned away, and he couldn't really stop Serral from pushing forward. And once that base was broken, I mean, that was kind of the beginning of the end. Beginning of the end for MaxPax. Oh. And yeah, I'm honestly surprised. I'm surprised that on a small map like Babylon, I'm surprised that MaxPax wasn't aggressive. I was expecting him to go into, like, I don't know, 8-gate Blink Stalker, or go for some kind of big aggressive all-in with charge lots, with oracles, or hit a crisp timing with Archons even. You can be aggressive as Protoss, but MaxPax he's been taking a very different approach. I did compare him to Showtime earlier. Like, these builds from MaxPax have been very defensive, and they've been very reminiscent of how Showtime plays this matchup. The downside to this is that you give the Zerg players so much freedom, like so much freedom to expand, to drone, and it made sense on Gressfan, because on Gressfan it led to a later game, led to the late game. On a smaller map like Babylon, like Dragon Scales, you don't have as much leeway, you don't have as much freedom as a Protoss player to play like this, to get away with this, just because the Zerg player can be more aggressive, they can be more assertive on these smaller maps, and yeah, Serral, he experienced that firsthand. Oh. And here we go. Now we're getting into game number 3. Spawning in the bottom right-hand corner. He needs to bring it back here and now from the land of Denmark. For Sidestorm Gaming, it is MaxPax. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have going for a 15-15 opener. The Finnish Zerg player for Basilisk, it is Serral. MaxPax rocks up, looking to delay the natural, but the natural is already there. That's the power of the 15 hatch. Serral able to get it up without too much issue. Should be going for a spawning pool next, and eventually his gases. Now, we've been seeing the same build from MaxPax both games so far, game 1 and game 2. After what happened on Babylon, I expect MaxPax to switch things up. I expect him to divert a little bit into something different. I'm hoping that that's the case, but we'll see. We'll see. It's of course up to MaxPax as to how he wants to approach this. Of course, the big tell is going to be whether he delays his Twilight Council again and delays his Blink, delays his charge. We'll be keeping our eyes mainly on MaxPax. When it comes to Serral, again, this is just a very safe opener. Because of this 15-15 opener from Serral, it does mean that a Twilight Council opener is going to be weaker. So I do think this is really smart of Serral to whip out after what just happened. After game 2, the likelihood of MaxPax going for a Twilight Council opener and being aggressive with Glaive Eps or DTs is much higher. So again, Serral just anticipating that and having a better defensive position if that were the case. The reasoning for that, for those wondering, is because you're able to get your natural base up and running, it means that Serral, he has better creep in between his main and his natural and outside his natural. On top of that, he's going to be able to wall off his natural base in case it was Glaive Eps with Evo Chambers, with the Roach Warren. He can wall off and he can have a much more solid defense against that sort of thing. Meanwhile, MaxPax, he of course sees the opener and he's going to be going for a Stargate instead. So far, very standard stuff out of MaxPax. Now, just because it's a Stargate opener doesn't mean he has to open up the same way every single game. He can go into a much more standard Twilight Council timing with this. Can be more assertive or attempt to be more assertive? We'll see. So MaxPax is just setting up back at home. Likewise, Serral working on his third. Just droning up here on 2 bases. Very safe play here from Serral. Nothing too fancy, nothing too crazy. Queens are on the way with that Oracle in production. Serral, of course, he has to make sure his queens are in position. 2 queens per base, even a Spore Crawler as well as the Oracle count gets higher. Oh, MaxPax. Oh my god. Okay, we're good. I got ahead of myself, Poppy. I got ahead of myself. Third base should be on time. Roachworn, very early from Serral. Okay, we're good. I was like, that's a sub 4-minute Roachworn. That doesn't make any sense. He does cancel it. Thank God. If he didn't, I'm like, mate, are we just going all in? Serral, it looks like he had read a Twilight Council, but he saw the Oracle, so he cancels the Roachworn. He doesn't need it. We're good, Pappy. We're good. For those wondering, when you're up against Stargate Opener, you typically don't need a Roachworn until around the 5-minute mark, as Roaches don't serve any purpose unless you're going for an all-in. So Serral, again, just was really expecting a Twilight Council Opener. Speaking of, we have a Twilight Council on time. We're not delaying it. It's coming out. We're going to be coming out with +1, and I imagine Blink Stalkers. So MaxPax is changing his build. Oracles come in. They get 3 drones, and they dip on out. They do dip on out. Earlier, I was freaking out about MaxPax because I thought he was cutting corners, but he wasn't. I'd lost my mind for a moment. Don't worry about it. As Adepts do commit to the shade into that third base. A good target firing here. Adepts also in the natural as well. 6 drones go down. Very nicely done here by MaxPax. Doing a great amount of damage. Behind this, Blink and +1 are on the way. Again, this time the Blink is on time. It isn't being delayed like the previous game, so we're going to be seeing a much more aggressive MaxPax this time. We have 4 gates in production. I think that's 6 gates in total so far, if I'm not mistaken. But I could be reading an 8 gate on the way. I would love to see. I would love to get a read on how many gateways there are. That would tell us how aggressive MaxPax wants to be. But I'm pretty sure it's 6 for the time being. And there we go. He's working on a Robo second Forge. Okay, so he's not going for a 3-base all-in. MaxPax will eventually be looking to expand, and of course tech up. But he can be more active with these Stalkers initially. As the Oracles have hit the field. They get eyes onto the 5th base. So just focusing on Lingbane Roach Ravager. And as Serral takes his 5th, he gets eyes on the 4th, and he will delay it. We'll get a kill on that pylon, forcing MaxPax to expand towards the south instead. But again, doesn't really delay his 4th for too much longer. As Serral's just being very active with these Lings. Likewise, we have MaxPax pushing through the center of the map, not just with his Oracles, but with his Stalkers as well. These Stalkers will be hitting with +1 and Blink. So because they have Blink, they can be more assertive, but here we go. The Lings, they do come in and they do force a cancel of the 4th. Very good run by Serral. That's the 2nd time now that the 4th has been delayed in some way. Again, the Stalkers are doing a great job at clearing up creep. They get a couple of Overlords. They're not engaging with the army, but they are safe to be active. Now MaxPax even being a little bit more assertive here, pushing towards that mineral line. Does get a Queen! And again, he's able to use the terrain as well to avoid us around, reducing surface area on that bridge. We see Serral getting ready to come in from behind, though. The Lings have arrived, and we do see MaxPax. He has to recall out of here. Ooh, Oracle gets focused down alongside 3 Stalkers. Good pick off here by Serral. The setup was just too good, and now MaxPax, he's on the back foot. He has to relinquish his map control. And Serral, he wants to deny the 4th base for a 3rd time. Uh-oh. Not like this. The Bailings are doing a great job at distracting the Stalkers. Zealots are getting surrounded. +1 melee is done. But it looks like Serral doesn't quite have enough here to head towards that base to deny the 4th. So being so greedy, his Bailings keep getting caught. Oh, big warp into the main base. The Queens have arrived, and it looks like they will focus down the Warp Prism. But the Zealots, they do warp in. You have Zealots in the main, Zealots at the 5th, Stalkers at the 3rd. Now can MaxPax pull Serral apart? Drones are going down. Serral is able to keep up though, for the most part. The Roaches, they have arrived in time. We have Roaches in the main base as well. I wish we had picture-in-picture, because three attacks just happened, and Serral, he holds on every front. He holds in his main, he defends his 5th, and he's pushing back the main army. Yeah, the Roaches, they popped out just in time. There is another Zealot counterattack at that 5th base, but there are plenty of Lings in position. Serral, he's shutting everything down. Oh my god. And MaxPax, he's just falling behind. He's really struggling to keep up here. Serral is about to max out. He's up 80, almost up 80 supply. The Prism was rebuilt, but Serral once again in position. Ay. I'm pretty sure a lot of this also does come down to the fact that MaxPax's 4th was heavily delayed. Like, it was cancelled again and again and again. So MaxPax's economy just hasn't been ideal. He is taking that center base, but Serral is maxed. He has maxed out. These counterattacks, these run-bys, they're getting smaller and smaller as time goes on, and now Serral, he can focus on his main push. Big stasis trap. They are going to be going up. With that, MaxPax is going to be able to keep this Colossus alive, but I don't know if he can keep the base alive. Serral, he's backing off, he's regrouping, consolidating his army. Big Baneling counterattack on the right-hand side. MaxPax, does he have enough to defend? He's going for his own Zealot run-by. But the Banelings, they do get in. Don't get too much, though. I spoke too soon. They didn't get much at the 3rd, but they do get a lot at the 4th base. 22 probes go down. The Zealot run-by gets cleaned up. Serral, now he can focus on that center base once again. 27 Banelings in production. Serral is just too much for MaxPax, I'll be honest. Like, it's crazy how MaxPax is going for like this multi-pronged aggression, just being as aggressive as possible in the face of Serral, and Serral, he keeps up with him. And then some. Now, these stasis traps may be able to keep MaxPax alive depending on how good the connections are. You do see the army coming in from behind. Stasis traps not ideal. Colossus are going down, and Banelings from every direction. They collapse on the army. They take down the mineral line as well as the base, and there's still plenty of Banelings left over. They're headed for the natural. They turn back around for the 3rd. Zealot run-by trying to get damage done, but there's nothing to kill at the 3rd either. There's nothing left, Papi. There's nothing left to kill. As a lone Colossi tries to hold on against the might of Serral. And it looks like it will barely hold on, but GG gets called. MaxPax taps out, and Serral takes the 3-0. Game 1 was close. Game 1 was back and forth, and we saw both players thrive in their own way. But after Game 1, Serral cleans it up in Game 2 and Game 3, and he eliminates MaxPax, the last Protoss player of the tournament. Only Terrans and 1 Zerg remain. Congratulations to Serral as he advances on. We are going to be going on a short break. Up next, we have another elimination match. We have a TVT. See you soon.